everyone. So yeah, I'm Phoebe. I've been working with Loop One now for 2 years as account manager for the South. Jerry, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, Phoebe. Hi, everyone. Jerry Holifield. I'm an account manager, been in Loop One about 3 years now, and I look after the central UK and European regions.
Perfect, thank you. Ryan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Thanks, Phoebe. Sure. Ryan Keegan, Senior Sales Manager for Service Desk in EMEA.
Right, and then Sean.
Thank you, Phoebe, and hello everyone. My name is Sean Sebring, Senior Solutions Engineer for SolarWinds ITSM.
Perfect. So to start today off, we'll just be going over briefly about what Loop One do. So we work closely with SolarWinds to deliver professional services as a global elite partner. We do specialize in SolarWinds, but as you can see on the right-hand side of the page, we do offer other complementary vendor solutions that really just add another layer to your IT stack. We assist clients to know what's next through our unique methodology, the Loop One Monitoring Maturity Model, LIME for short, and we are committed to help clients achieve their goals through exceptional management of their IT systems. We provide proactive managed services, projects, license renewals, and training to clients of all sizes across all geographies, and you can rest assured you're in capable hands with our unrivaled 20+ years experience in the SolarWinds world. We work closely with the ITSM team at SolarWinds to help deliver the SolarWinds Service Desk solution to clients, in which I'll pass over to my colleague Jerry to dive a little bit deeper.
Lovely. Thanks, Phoebe. Yep. So hi, everyone, and welcome to ITSMarter webinar. Today, obviously, we're going to focus on the SolarWinds Service Desk solution. We're going to look at how simple it is to set up and use, and also focus on the seamless integration that you have with the SolarWinds Orion Platform. We've certainly had a lot of interest recently in SolarWinds Service Desk, either as a way to manage assets, possibly as against using a more manual process, something like Excel has come up as one example, or maybe as an option to replace a more complicated service management sort of software solution that you may have in place. So that's kind of the main focus points on what we'll be having a look at today. And I will pass over now to Sean. I hope you all find the webinar very interesting and beneficial, and there'll be an opportunity to ask questions towards the end. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. So we're going to be taking a at-a-glance look at SolarWinds Service Desk today. With a service desk platform like this, an ITSM solution, including asset management, it's a very large platform. And I'm sure everyone would love a 7-hour-long demonstration of all the potential capabilities that I might be able to squeeze in, but we're limited today. So again, SolarWinds Service Desk at a glance. And just looking at the stacks that we see here, right? These are some common themes of things you'll think of when you're looking to engage with a service management platform. So right off the bat, employee engagement, and I think this is a very, very big highlight. In fact, I just released another webinar around some engagement opportunities. So engagement to me means things like, how am I going to engage with the employee where they are? Chat tools such as Slack or Teams, right? Integrations with those for the creation of tickets, email, mobile, and of course, service portal, something that we're always trying to look to encourage adoption for better service management. Looking at more capabilities, process automation, of course, staying on the service management side. Your core ticketing functionalities most people think of is your incident management. But some of the things that we'll also be looking at today is service catalog. And really what that offers is a lot more automation, which is part of this process automation, when it comes to delivering more standard services, things that are more normally requested, helping to expedite and speed up the delivery of those services. There's lots of other features in the service desk that'll definitely take you above and beyond some of the more, let's call them legacy service management tools, things like change, knowledge, service level management. A lot of ITIL core practices are going to be facilitated. On the IT asset management side of the house, one of the biggest things I like to think of when I think of life cycle is your history. Jeremy mentioned something that I see all too often, which is an Excel spreadsheet, which is great for tracking what you have, but it's not great at tracking what you've done to what you have, for example. Same thing with contract management. I also see those in spreadsheets. Great for seeing what you have, not great for seeing what you've done to what you have, what modifications have taken place, who owns it, where are we at with it. All those things in a record system, an IT management solution is going to really take you above and beyond. Next, stack down AI engine, right? Just adding a little bit more of that automation, which everyone in IT is more hungry for, right? What can my system do for me? And then common services, things that are quality of life, such as dashboarding, the automatic discovery, so I don't have to manually populate my assets into my system. And then taking us even further and more mature is REST API, right? The ability to integrate the system with your other tools in your stack. Next slide, Phoebe. Thank you so much. So something we just mentioned on the previous slide, but we'll be looking at is smart suggestions, right? This is bridging into the AI machine learning capabilities. So with a tool like this, one of the ways that I like to introduce it is as a modern consumer of services, as an end user, I expect to be able to enter a demand, and I expect the service or system to respond with results. And that's something that we'll definitely be taking a look at. And it's something that we expect in our more modern ITSM solutions. Go ahead, next slide, Phoebe. And we're going to blow through these slides, folks, because I want to get to the demonstration, right? We're all ready for the meat and potatoes of what we came here for. So workflow and automation capabilities. Again, this is kind of looking at, and we'll have a similar example, human resources for, let's say, a new hire. There's a very long potential list of tasks or even approvals, and I want to be able to reference those in a single record of that new hire. So being able to streamline that process so that we can see where we're at with the new hire, where we're at with the steps to continue onboarding them, and then also capturing the authorization for certain things when it comes to giving access, or even who approved that this new hire was going to come into the work environment in the first place. Next slide, Phoebe. Thank you so much. And then finally for these slides here is asset management. And I think one of the biggest perks, especially when we're working with Loop 1 as SolarWinds, is thinking about these assets, Orion, right? We think about it. So on the screen here, we see off to the right, which is a nice graphic, SolarWinds Discovery. Discovery is a wonderful term for helping you find out what you have. But I think one thing I want to capitalize on is those 3 different colors we see there. And the reason I say that is to focus on the different ways to discover, right? It's very flexible in the sense that you can pull it in from an agent base. So we install an agent on a computer. We integrate with other systems such as Orion, such as Microsoft Intune or Endpoint Manager. We have a scanner that can help do agentless discovery on your network as well. Of course, you're tried and true. Let's import it from a spreadsheet, right? There's many ways to get it in there, but I think that the key benefit to having it is one, well, let's say 2 benefits. One is that it's integrated in the same system as your service management practices. So now we're talking about my assets living in the same system of record as my tickets, my other records that where I'm actually doing my work. And the other part is that single pane of glass. We've got tons of different types of assets out there that are managed through multiple different platforms, and with the ability to integrate these together so that we have that single pane of glass, right? Everything listed in our CMDB or configuration management database. Being able to have that in one list, one view for one style of reporting is going to bring you a lot more efficiency, and especially from an auditable standpoint, you'll be a lot more consolidated as far as where do we go to track what we have. All right, next, Phoebe. And I think we're going to get straight into our demo now. So we get to one of our favorite exciting bits here. All right, I'm going to start my screen share. And let's publish this out. Are you guys able to see my screen okay? Excellent.
Indeed, Sean, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you
looks
so
good.
much. And thank you, Phoebe, for helping us move through those slides there. So one of the things that I want to start on is that employee engagement side of things. So what we're looking at right here is the end user experience, the self-service portal. And one of the other things that I want to talk about, which Jeremy had mentioned, is the ease of use, the rapid deployment. So this might feel like a fancy looking, maybe very well developed end user experience that we've created. But I've got this tab over here, and literally this is just to show you what the portal designer looks like. Click, drag, drop, resize, rearrange, reshape, add in additional widgets. You can customize the portal experience however you want. You can include custom messages, images, GIFs, even embed YouTube, Microsoft Stream, Vimeo videos. Customize the portal with your branding as far as colors, logos, the URL, favicons in the browser tab. Create your own end user, your own organization's branded experience. And again, all this being said, a nice UI here is wonderful, but really what drives that end user experience is the ability to self-service. So let's go with a scenario that we've created in our demonstration environment. The ability to just, again, start typing a demand and have the system yield some results. So we'll come up with just an example issue here, and we can see on the screen this orange honeycomb icon representing some suggestions, which shows up throughout the platform. And one thing I want to emphasize is it's not just for your end users, and we don't have to code or program this. Just by using the tool, you'll be presented with results. So I've got services, which are those more standardized form-based and process-oriented tickets, as well as, of course, knowledge-based articles. We've always got the option to create a new ticket, which we'll kind of look at in just a moment. But the key difference between the services and the incidents is something that I want to help emphasize, because there's lots of different capabilities here. But for now, let's jump in and just take a quick look at a knowledge-based article. So this is just to show an example of an article with some media flashing around on screen again. Having a system that supports this kind of media goes a long way. If they say a picture can say 1,000 words, imagine how much space, real estate, and time you could save with a quick GIF or even a video. Give your end users the ability to rate, giving you appropriate feedback on the helpfulness of an article. And then just because it's a browser-based platform, we got a neat example down here. We said, didn't resolve your issue, click here to log a ticket, right? Get them into the ticket so that if they need that service, they can get there quicker, right? Don't meet them with the dead end if the article wasn't the solution that they were looking for. And then again, we're now in a new ticket interface. We can see that it pre-populated a subject line for us, and we can continue filling this out. If I could spell in here. It's all right, it's forgiven. And off to the right, you'll see that persistent suggestions, right? So we've got the same suggestions even down through categorization. All right, so the system's going to guide the end user to giving you the most appropriate information. And just for fun here, let's take a quick screenshot and let's paste it in, right? Easy to copy, paste, drag and drop. And this really emphasizes that top orange bar on one of our previous slides, the employee engagement. Meet them where they are. This is also something that's possible from a mobile app, again, from Teams, from Slack. So lots of different ways, as well as a in-app chat as an option. So we'll go through with submitting this ticket just to kind of wrap up a little bit of this end user experience. So this is submitting a regular break fix, a troubleshooting ticket, or in the ITIL world, an incident. Let's go back to the home page. One last thing I want to emphasize from the end user experience is that service request. Now, I don't always expect end users to know what to do, where to go, or even how to ask for the most appropriate form of help. So just a quick scenario for us here is let's go through that new hire situation. Let's go through a hiring form. So right off the bat, just as an example that I've built in our demo account here is human resources. This may help trigger me to say, okay, well, if I have a new hire, let's see what this offers me. And that was just a tile that I created, which is a URL, it's a link. And it took them into that service catalog where I've got a list of different services, in this case, by a department, the human resource, and what kind of services they offer. Hey, there's a new hire request. You've got other widgets down here that you can control what's pinned in the list. The system can help you dynamically control what's in the list based off of frequency it's viewed or requested. And of course, your tried and true search bar. We start typing new hire and the system offers us a recommendation for that. So again, this type of ticket isn't going to the end user, feel vastly different. It's a named service, so they don't have to put in a title. They don't have to categorize it. They've still got a form they need to fill out, right? So they fill in the blanks. And these are things that you as administrators in your environment can help create. It's your form, your fields, and the UI for designing this, just like I showed you on the portal designer over here, it's all click, drag, and drop. There's no coding. So again, to the end user, not much different, but what you benefit from as the administrators or technicians that are providing this service is that workflow, that more automated execution of what steps need to be done to deliver this service. So I've jumped us into a technician view. We did a lot on the employee engagement side. So let's look at a mix of a couple different things from the technician's perspective. Right now we're looking at a dashboard, which we have listed as one of the common services. So the dashboard, one of my favorite things to express on here is that it's personalized per technician. So what that means is I can create my own experience, and I'm very handily expanding an Orion Alerts widget here, which we'll segue into later. But this is my experience. These might be widgets about tickets or even assets that are relevant to me, picking from a number of out-of-the-box widgets, creating custom widgets, and being able to have as many dashboard views as I want, as well as the ability to share this out. Now, this is a high-level snapshot of what's going on. Of course, we can drill down into the different sections if we want. Don't mistake dashboards with reporting, which, of course, a system like this is intended to be able to provide scheduled historical reporting, shareable reports, reports you can click into and drill down into the information you see in those lovely, colorful infographics. But let's look at an example of a view that a IT help desk technician may see. So day to day, I'm looking at a list of the tickets in my environment. Some of the great features about a tool like this, again, common services, things you want for quality of life purposes, is the ability to snap between views. So what I did is it defaulted me to an all tickets view, which is just my choice for my default. But I've got Sean's queue. I've got my help desk queue. As a supervisor, you may need to look at other folks' queues, a list of your HR tickets, finance tickets. I even had that view for my Orion Alerts tickets. So from this experience, I'm just a help desk technician looking at all the work that might be available for me to pick from to help close some stuff out. So in here, again, one of the highlights, a quality of life, a common service I might expect is, well, first of all, this was automatically routed to us based off of the type of issue it was. So it got sent to the IT help desk group. Now I want to take a quick look at it, so I can hover to get a snapshot. Clicking pops it over to the right. So think of this kind of like email, right? We click on the message off to the right. You can view the content in the message. You can click through. So it makes it easy for you to see what works in front of you. On the note of seeing what works in front of you, we've got little visual indicators here. We got 2 chat bubbles. One's blue and one's white. A white chat bubble indicates a comment that you've seen. A blue chat bubble helps indicate a comment you haven't seen. So when you're looking at your work in front of you, you want to prioritize something that may need more attention. This is an active end user who's engaging, right? Who's commenting on the ticket. Whereas this checkbox is showing us either tasks that are open or existing tasks on a ticket. And we haven't even got to tasks yet. We just wanted to talk about some of those visual indicators. One more thing on the note of visual indicators off to the left here. And again, this is a demo environment, so don't be afraid. We didn't breach any real big SLAs, no financial consequences here. But we've got 2 columns that I put in my view. Again, just something that is a preference for me. I can see SLAs that have breached that are still active, SLAs that are approaching. If I scroll down here, here's a breach that's been completed, but it did breach, right? So just some visual indicators to give you an idea of what you can see from this view, and we haven't even opened the tickets yet. On the note of opening a ticket, after taking a look at this, let's say, for example, I want to claim this work. So one of my favorite things about a tool like this is the ability to make changes from this view. I don't have to open the ticket, hit edit, make changes, hit save. And again, personalized per technician. I see my own name at the top of the list. We're all here to work, so it just makes it easy for me as a technician to claim that work. We can change the status. We can change the category, the subcategory, the priority. So again, it just makes it very easy for me as a technician to claim my work, see my work, make adjustments to the work in here. If you're a supervisor in charge of triage tickets, this makes your life a whole lot easier than having to open each record individually, hit edit, make changes, and save it. But let's jump into looking at an actual ticket. And one thing I'm going to do real quick is let's make another adjustment. Let's just bump this to a medium priority. All of this is about a system of record. So what's a system of record without a nice handy audit tab? I just wanted to make a nice change real quick. So we had something at the top of the list here. So your audit log is going to track everything that happens to this ticket, whether it was an email sent or an adjustment made to one of the details fields. And one thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change this so I'm not supporting my own ticket. Shanzile Requesty, who's my happy requester profile. And I'm going to support Shanzi's ticket. And I'm going to refresh my page and I'm going to check for questions because I've been rambling for a bit, but I want to make sure that we get folks' questions addressed. So let me pull up my chat here.
Nothing's dropped in just yet, Sean, but I have
All
dropped a
right.
couple of messages in there just to prompt people if you do have questions at any time, as Sean mentioned. We're happy to take them within the flow of the demo. So as we go along, we can take questions.
Excellent. All right. And thank you for that, Helen. All right, so from the lens of a technician, I've claimed this ticket, I've set this in progress, and Shanzi, my requester, is reporting issues with Dialpad. So one of the important things I want to emphasize as far as what is this system going to do for me, we're going to jump into that AI, the machine learning. Here's our honeycomb icon, right? Here's our orange honeycomb saying I have 11 suggestions for you. So the system's offering 8 of the 11 as similar incidents. So this goes into problem management a little bit. This is the system identifying a trending issue. If one person says, for example, I'm not receiving email, it's potentially end user error. If you've got 5, 10, 15 people saying that, it may be time to panic. Let's call our vendor, right? So it's going to just give you visibility into a potentially widespread outage or a common issue that's spreading throughout the organization. And it's going to give you more than just the visibility, but additional functionality. If you guys couldn't guess, this little paperclip icon here means attach. It's another one of those things, kind of like a floppy disk, means save for some reason still. But we attach these, right? They're disappearing from my suggestions panel over here, and down here under related, there they are. One thing I mentioned earlier when talking about assets especially is history. This related tab is history beyond just what do we do to the ticket, but it's relationships. It's historical relationships with, in this case, other tickets. There's going to be a lot more functionality that comes into play, but again, as it states, for now, we're building a relationship between this ticket and other tickets. Back up to these suggestions here, solutions. Now, this is what we'll call the knowledge base. So when we talk about, again, another ITIL practice, knowledge management, this is allowing the technician to leverage these smart suggestions just the same as, or even potentially more efficiently than end users who may not have engaged with smart suggestions. But it's offering the technician more than just an attach option. They can, of course, insert this into the ticket. So it will build that history. Here's my solution down here under my related tab now. And just like it promised us, it pasted this into my comment box. And I emphasize pasted because it didn't send it yet. Right, so that same knowledge base article we looked at on the portal, where we've got some graphics in here, some media playing, but it didn't send it out. And that's important to note because what if I want to personalize it before I send it out? And if this got you thinking about it, because you can do that, yes, you can effectively use these as macros or canned responses. There are different types of solution articles, so you can differentiate ones visible on the portal as well as ones that are intended for internal use. So you can, again, use them like canned responses or macros. But before I send this one out, remember we had a handful of other issues about the same thing. So these other 8 incidents, if I want to address them all with one response, which doesn't have to be a knowledge base article, but in this case, I can post this to those related incidents. And that's able to go out and post a message to those of the folks that are related, have no idea their tickets are bundled together here. As far as they're concerned, the response was sent to them individually, right? I went to their ticket and I sent them that response. Staying here in this comment box, and to note, comments does mean this is how you're engaging with either your end user or just leaving a document, right? Dialogue trail. In this case, now I've switched it to private, indicating down here, it's only visible to other agents. So you can use this for internal notation of what you've done, or let's show off some other stuff. Let's use it for collaboration. Let's mention our entire IT help desk. So in our example, we're assuming we may be experiencing a potential widespread outage, right? We've already seen 8 other tickets about this. So let's continue with that example, and we'll say, hey, please, IT help desk, please attach any new dial pad tickets, right? Assuming we may see more in the future, I want to make sure everyone on the IT help desk is aware that this happened. So with that one private note, which again, private means technician facing only, I've sent out a @mention, effectively sending comms out to my entire IT help desk team, which is 56 users. So all 56 users are notified in a number of different ways. So that helps with communication here in the platform. They've got your little social media looking icon, the notification bell up at the top right. You've got the mobile app. You can receive push notifications there, as well as, of course, email, right? So the entire IT help desk can be notified. We can manage communications from here. It's well documented because it's in the ticket. It's also just a nice way to quickly collaborate. So from an individual standpoint, I just wanted to ping one person. Let's ping, let's try pinging David. Let's get David involved, right? I can just do a single message. Is this the correct article? Right. Again, great way to collaborate, to communicate, work with your team, and document. Another use case for that same thing is, what if you wanted to loop in the requesters manager? You can mention end users in public comments as well. So let's get that employee engagement. Let's get that collaboration improved. Back up to our smart suggestions. Last thing we're going to do here is related configuration items, which is a nice ITIL long-winded way of saying assets, right? So in this example here, it's showing me a computer, a laptop. Why? So it's suggesting this because it's looking at our requester's profile and it's saying Shanzi has one asset in his inventory. I mean, that wasn't very difficult, right? It's very handy to be able to look at someone's profile with just a hover and a click, but it's offering it to your technician again, just to make it a little bit easier. On that note, anytime you see a profile, you can view it. And this is why I switched Shanzi to my requester. I have too many assets over there. But it makes it easier for your technician to be able to view the asset, which we'll get into more details in just a moment, but as well as build that relationship. I click my paperclip and guess what? Now it's related down here. So this related tab, one thing again I want to emphasize is its history. And when I brought up asset management earlier in slides, history was one of the biggest things. It's one thing to see on a spreadsheet or a database table of what you have. It's incredibly important to be able to go to that asset as a record and look at its history and see that, oh my goodness, this computer has had hundreds of tickets logged against it, which hopefully nobody has a number of tickets like that. Get rid of that device. I promise you it'll save you money. But the history of what work you've done against an asset is important for you as far as managing the life cycle of that asset. So again, we may come back to those asset details in just a bit, but just to put a wrap on what we've done in the system so far. As a technician, I leveraged my smart suggestions to respond to my requester with a suggested knowledge base article. As well, I sent that out to a handful of others that I'd related here. So I addressed all of them potentially. Collaborated with my team internally, and just for fun, we attached an asset. So we'll resolve this out. We can create custom statuses unique to our organization, custom resolution codes for better reporting. And a little cherry on top for us here is, as we resolve this, it says, hey, I noticed you had 8 other tickets that were about the same thing. Do you want to close those out too? So a great way to manage your work in a more efficient, more automated, more AI-friendly way. Now let's go back to our list of tickets. And one of the things I want to jump to is the process. So let's look at our new hire example. So this is a ticket I actually put in before we got on because I didn't want to have to fill in 20 fields for you on screen. But so far we look very, very similar to the ticket that we just addressed. And yes, I'm hiring myself here. I just trust that I know how to spell my own name. So again, so far it looks like the same kind of ticket. Some key differences in a service request, which we're looking at, and an incident is a form, right? We had a form that we filled out because we have a predefined set of information that we're looking for, right? If this is a new hire, I need to know what you want, what the new hire's role is, apps, when do they start, all that good stuff. So that's one element. Most importantly is the process, right? This is really what truly separates it. It helps build the efficiency from start to finish of delivering the service. And I want to note that while we're in a new hire scenario, which typically is the use case that prospects and customers come to us needing to solve most, it's the most complex in many use cases, it doesn't have to be. Let's take, for example, a simple software request. We ask one question, we send an approval to their manager. If they approve it, we have one action: deploy the software, right? Very simple. But again, in this example, which new hire process is a challenge for many organizations, we collected a good bit of info. Now let's see what the process has outlined for us. So top to bottom here, I do want to show off a integration. So this is just an example of a hook into another platform. So your process can automatically send a hook into other platforms. And this is the only thing that we're looking at or even talking about today that has anything to do with coding. Everything in the platform is designed to be out of the box and UI driven. But if you want, Let's take it to that next level and let's build some integrations. So that was just a welcome message we sent in Slack. And now we can see that it automatically adjusted its status to awaiting approval. On behalf of the human resource team, I can approve this. But I also want to note that Clark Griswold, who is a normal end user, he was selected as the hiring manager. So it put him in here as an approval, an optional approver. You don't have to be licensed to be an approver in a system like this. We encourage, again, that employee engagement. Involve the business. Involve them in your processes so you're documenting it. Get it in your service management tool so you have more consistency in how you're managing services, whether they're IT services or business processes. Since I'm not Clark Griswold, I'll approve on behalf of Human Resources. And we'll see that the next step is going to automatically adjust our status. So it's going to move us down to a step called Order the Laptop. But here, our state went to in progress, right? So the reason I'm calling this out is because this ticket allows us to automate state changes, automate assignment rules. The ticket can move itself, update itself. The ticket can automatically notify, send out tasks. So in this example, again, finance and security here don't have to be licensed users. We can send them tasks, ask them to complete work, involve them in the process. And while these three examples are sequential, which is one by one by one, there's great scenarios where that's necessary. Let's take email, for example. Nowadays, you can't do anything without somebody's email. So until that step's done, I don't want to fire off the 20 other things that we need to do because we can't do them. So again, these are one by one by one, but where you can afford to avoid those bottlenecks, again, to improve and increase visibility and efficiency, design concurrent tasks. So as you can see, the checkboxes are visible, they're actionable at any level down here. So if application support happens to be the slowest in this function, then that's not going to slow down my IT help desk from completing what they need to complete. It's not going to stop IT management from their steps, right? And again, these are just examples just to show you in a visual sense that automated process, the distribution of tasks and approvals, as well as those integrations with other platforms. So one last thing I just want to show you real quick, because I've promised so far that everything's UI based and not code driven, is let's go look at setting that up just for a moment. So we're going to go into edit mode on my new hire request that we just completed together. So this is just a sample of my template. Again, it was my new hire request. It has a custom title that it adopts based off information they fill out. So this top part is just identifying the form. Now here's building the form itself. So it's as easy as adding the fields. So if you have the field existing, you check the box, add it in. If it doesn't exist yet, you create it. You pick what kind of field you want it to be and add it in. Once the fields are there, rearrange them. So again, click, drag, and drop. I know it's marketing buzzwords, but it's true, right? Click, drag, and drop. So I'm not just saying them so I can be a marketing buzzword kind of person. After you have all the fields in there, you build logic. And the logic that we see here, we're going to see in just a second again. So I have a smart form based on certain selections. For example, if they select the new hire type equals marketing, show certain marketing fields. If they don't pick it, then hide those marketing fields. So building the form, all UI based, click, drag, and drop, buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. Process, going to be all the same as well. So I've got this very, very long process here, but let's collapse it for just a moment. Let's collapse this step and this step. And let's build a very small process together. So building a process starts with a plus sign. I know it's pretty intimidating, but we'll click plus here. We see these options. Let's say an approval is our first step, which I think makes sense. We'll call this manager approval. I'm talking about integrations, employee engagement, integrating with your source of truth. If your system can identify who's the requester's manager, wouldn't that be nice? So it's got built-in logics to, let's say from Active Directory, identify who's the requester's manager. And then if they approve or decline, what takes place? Let's say if they decline, well, of course, let's notify them based off of an email template. And we're going to send that back to our requester. And let's click the do not pass go. So if it got declined, we'll notify them, and then we'll also, we don't want to send two notifications. We want to hit stop process, right? Let's just stop process. Let's not process any more of that automated workflow. How about if they approve, we ask the ticket to manage itself. It just got approved. Let's name this step approved. And let's have it change its state to in progress. right? And you can see that it can manage a number of different things. Like I'd mentioned, its status, its assignment, its description, its priority. Some other really powerful features is one, it's drag and drop capable, just like everything else I've mentioned so far. But what if I could, you remember this big process we collapsed up here? Let's just copy that whole thing and let's paste it. So it's incredibly easy to deploy. Rapid deployment was something that Jeremy mentioned early on. Those are things that I want to emphasize and why I'm showing you how to build a process, because I don't just want to see a tool that has cool capabilities. How feasible is it for me to take advantage of those capabilities? Let's jump into now, let's go into our asset management side of things. I'm going to go into our installation section here. So one of the things that we'd mentioned early on was this word discovery, right? And I'd mentioned that there's a lot of different ways. There's your agent-based approach. There's a scanner. We even have connectors to Chrome. We have the integration with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So the ability to get the data from the systems that you're already using is a huge benefit, and it helps bring in that single pane of glass. So one of the reasons I wanted to come here is let's talk about this scanner. Let's say you're using Orion, you've got some network performance monitoring tools on that platform. You may not need to rediscover. If I go into my connections tab here, let's go into Orion Nodes Discovery. Look at this. So this is, again, leveraging something that you've already been using. So we don't have to rediscover what's already been discovered through Orion. We can use the scanner that we installed through the service desk, point to our Orion host, and ask it to pull in the information. It also has the capability of identifying the dependencies between those assets that are found. And this is going to pull that information into what we'll visit soon, the CMDB. Right? So building those relationships is something you can do manually, but through an integration with Orion, you're able to automatically get that dependency mapping. This is kind of part one of an Orion integration. I think one of the other really important things to talk about is the Orion Alerts integration. Now, hold on to your seats here. This part's going to be a little bit complex. We're talking about integrating with Orion. So what we're going to do first is let's just call this loop 1, integration. And then I'm going to hit create. Have I lost anyone yet? All right. I think we're all still here. Let's identify that when an alert from Orion is created, I want it to be created under my Orion Alerts profile. Now, to actually make this integration successful, I have to generate a token and copy a token. And then I'm going to paste it in Orion. Right? I'm going to go to add an instance for the service desk, and I'm going to paste that code in. Now, again, I told you it was going to be complex. I hope everyone was able to keep up, but that's as far as you need to go to make the integration started, right? That's creating the integration. You're done. There are a couple of other settings, so not to make it sound too simple. If you want, and I have an example of one of these here, let's say, for example, the ticket is created from Orion. It creates the ticket in the service desk. Excellent. We work on the ticket. We think that we've addressed the issue. Throughout, the trigger may have happened a few times and it's updated the ticket. But once we're ready and we resolve the ticket, I'm going to set this to 5 hours. If that same trigger alerts again in or within a 5-hour period, this is offering to allow it to reopen the same ticket. So this is one of the benefits and the real power behind the integration versus just saying, I want it to just email my ticket system to create the ticket. Because then you could have hundreds of tickets about the same thing versus one ticket tracking what the actual alert is identifying as an event or issue, right? It's just saying it's still happening. It's still happening. I don't need a new ticket for that. I want to continue to manage that as an issue or an incident. And this allows you to, from a resolution standpoint, do the same thing. In this case, if it triggered the alert again at 6 or 7 hours, it's going to create a new ticket. So you get to identify what you want that threshold to be. And again, it's going to help you manage the actual issue, not just multiple tickets. To actually make it take place in Orion, just a couple screenshots real quick because there's not much to actually like go through or demonstrate. You just add an action, right? After we copy and pasted that code, that was integrated. That is it. I'm not oversimplifying it. Now, to actually leverage it, you go to an alert that you've created or create a new alert and say you want to add that trigger action and then you identify which attributes you want to send across. So folks, I'm really not trying to play it down. It's that simple. Once it's integrated, you just choose which alerts you want to create a ticket. Now back in the service desk, you can do a lot with this. So one of the things that you can do is, for example, since you're controlling what information, back over here, what information you're sending to the service desk, you can create automation rules that says, based off of what is sent from Orion, I want to treat the ticket in this way or that way. So we've just got an example automation rule, right? If the ticket comes from Orion, its origin, right? And the service desk can tell if the ticket originated from Orion, or even if the requester was Orion. So maybe it emailed an alert, but the requester was the Orion Alerts profile. If this, then do that, right? Tag the ticket. And let's do a handful of things. Let's change the location. Let's change the category. Let's change who it's assigned to. You can adjust the priority. So you can create alerts in combination with automation rules to control what behaviors you want the tickets to have in the service desk. Now let's go in and look at an example. Let's go to our dashboard. Remember I had this Orion Alerts widget over here? Let's go look at those on-hold tickets. And look at that, 500 comments there. So the reason I'm emphasizing this is I mentioned I don't want to receive 500 tickets. Can you imagine? Right. So if one alert takes place, I want the information that's sent from Orion. I want to see that. Also note, in this example, I hadn't had it hooked up properly yet, but I want to note, if you're discovering the device with the Orion node scan that I'd shown you earlier, then when the ticket's created, it will automatically associate that asset down here. Again, the history, that's super important. I need to know what devices I'm logging tickets against. So if you have both integrations active, which I didn't for my example here, then it will automatically associate the asset to the ticket for you. And down in the comments, this is what the experience would be like. And this is an older example, so bear with. But this would be what the experience is like if you notice that the same trigger is happening over and over. The system's going to continue to update the same ticket rather than creating 500 plus tickets. It's one ticket. We're still managing the same ticket. If you wanted to relate other tickets that end users are reporting about having issues, you can relate them here and then comment to them with the mass commenting we looked at earlier. So this just helps bring in a full life cycle of from discovering the asset to seeing an alert come across from our monitoring tools to notifying the end users from a single ticket, managing it as one ticket instead of hundreds of tickets, having them all in one place, having them all under one roof, having an integrated stack brings a huge amount of efficiency, and it's a way smarter, more mature way to do IT. How are we doing on time, folks? Helen, I'll defer to you
We're
there.
good. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good.
15
We've
minutes,
got
I think.
15 minutes to go. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, for the sake of, I know we had a little bit we wanted to do with the, there was something exciting you wanted to bring up towards the end.
There was indeed.
Yeah. So for the purposes of that, I am going to turn things back over to you guys. One thing I do want to encourage is, of course, if you're interested, there's going to be resources towards the end, but you're absolutely welcome to do free trials in the service desk. There's a free 30-day trial, as well as you can reach out to appropriate folks for demonstrations of the SolarWinds Service Desk.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Sean. Phoebe, if you could share the slides again, I'll give you control. And Jerry, back to you if you want to run through the final two slides.
Yeah, by all means. So I don't see any questions in Q&A. If has anybody got anything they want to post on there? I mean, if you don't want to address those now, obviously feel free to reach out to any of us and we can come back to you offline. As Sean has said, you know, this is available as a free trial. There is a QR code there that you can use. So we can also arrange specific demonstrations, so you can reach out to your individual account managers at Loop One. We've been doing a lot of these with the with Ryan and the ITSM team at SolarWinds, so I can certainly vouch for those. We've got a lot of good resources there. So if there's any questions, anything further that's needed, please feel free to get in touch. We'd welcome those inquiries. So we've also got the opportunity there, if we book a demonstration, there is the offer to, we're going to give away a couple of Amazon gift cards for the first couple of people who book and attend those demonstrations. So there's a bit of an incentive going on. So I think that just takes us through to the last slide.